Hey guys, it's just an American here again with my second video on the channel. Today I'd like to talk about some more broad issues, including things like term limits and foreign affairs. With all that information out of the way, let's get started. Alright guys, to start off, of course, we have our good news for the day. Scientists in Japan have figured out a way to possibly regrow human teeth. They've had multiple clinical trials on mice, but they are moving to human trials very soon. Apparently, the technology stems from human teeth buds, where we're apparently able to grow teeth back from the buds where our teeth used to be. There have been many studies on mice, and they have been successful. Hopefully, the human trials will prove fruitful, and we might not have to brush our teeth anymore. First, of course, we have to talk about what everybody's been talking about, the government shutdown. We did narrowly avoid this situation by having a partial spending bill that'll keep the government running for the next 45 days. On the other hand, we're not any closer to fixing issues at the border or deals with Ukraine. There's obviously a lot more going on behind the scenes involving Biden and McCarthy.
Mr. President, are you going to be able to trust Speaker McCarthy when the next deal comes around?
We just made one about Ukraine, so we'll find out.
But I feel like Americans deserve to know what's going on and be able to vote on important issues like this instead of just under-the-table discussions. Personally, I have an issue with us sending more and more funding to the Ukraine while we have current domestic problems to deal with. Inflation is skyrocketing, there's a massive crisis at the border that no one's addressing, and a lot of people are trying to ignore. Meanwhile, we're sending billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine. Some of those weapons, including grenade launchers, have been found to be held by criminals in Ukraine. Republicans proposed a new idea a few months back to have an advisor go over to the Ukraine to be able to decide where all the funds have been allocated in the Ukraine, so we can have at least some sort of leadership over there to decide where our money is being spent. Democrats, unfortunately, were not on board with this idea and voted it down. How long can we afford to keep sending money over to Ukraine while we currently have issues in the US that we can't even pay for? We're borrowing money to be able to send money to the Ukraine, which in turn does not help with our inflation problem. Now I'd like to move on to some more broad topics, things like foreign affairs, and other big issues that seem to be missing from the mainstream media. Let's start with term limits. Obviously, there are issues that come about when people hit a certain age, including Biden, including Mitch McConnell, including many other people involved in the Senate. I believe we should have term limits to prevent these people from getting to a certain point where they cannot make decisions for themselves, or they aren't part of the current generation of the United States where they don't understand the main interests and topics that the younger generation is talking about. I'd like to hear what you guys think in the comments. Please let me know any other ideas or solutions for term limits that we could possibly have. A lot of people would like to ignore this issue. I believe it's a very big issue in our current government and really needs to be addressed to figure out some of the core issues we have in government right now. Now we're going to discuss China and the floods that have killed thousands of people, but the Chinese government claims it only killed 33 people total in the entire flooding. People were injured. There's going to be infection and other diseases that come from these floods. Hospitals are filled to the brim, and there are many other issues that the Chinese government is hiding. You'll see stories where they claim climate change is causing these floods. With China's already failing job market, this just adds salt to the wound. Most of the floods are happening in poorer areas and have been redirected by the Chinese government to the poorer areas to protect the capital city. There's a massive amount of wildlife that have been killed and strewn all over the streets of China, which, like I said earlier, will be causing a lot of disease and issues in the future. To make things worse, the Chinese government is releasing propaganda showing them allegedly helping clean the floods, but they are, in reality, blocking views of bridges that have collapsed and giving the illusion that they're trying to help the public. These floods are causing major issues in China, but all the government is trying to do is hide it. The Chinese government is not doing anything to help besides making propaganda videos where it looks like people are helping the poor. But in reality, the government will do what they always do and ignore their citizens. Thank you to LaoY86 for providing the very limited video footage we have of these floods coming out of China. Definitely go check out his channel if you guys have the time. I'll have it linked in the description. Overall, we've had a pretty interesting week. We've had secret government dealings. Trump's first trial out of the 4 that are coming in the next year have started today, and many other things involving foreign affairs with Ukraine, China, and the rest of the world. I hope you guys have a great week and enjoy the beautiful weather before it gets too cold. Thanks for watching, guys.